Welcome back to the Health Bridge. Dr. Pedram Shojai here with my friend Matt Riemann, and this is an important conversation. It's something that I've been kind of dancing around with the show for a while, and it has to do with individual personalized health versus all the crappy health advice that's out there and what we're going to do about it. So Matt is the CEO and founder of a very interesting platform. I've been following this for a while. We're kind of going to goof off and do some of this on camera here just to show you what epigenetics is like, you know, with feet on the ground. But let's get into this. Hey, welcome to the show.
Pedram, thanks for having us.
Yeah, great to have you here finally.
Yes.
You've been at this for a while. You've had a journey to get here. So I'd love to just kind of unpack how you got into all this in terms of your own kind of journey quickly so that we can go from there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we were, I guess, very progressive back in the day. I'm from Australia, as you can probably gather from the accent, but we've been very progressive in the way that we look at treating the person as a whole. So we've been doing the way that we looked at clients that come in through clinics for many, many years, from neuroscience point of views, from genetics, from blood analysis, the whole box and dice. We look at a very expensive, very time-consuming regime to find out exactly what was specifically needed for that person. And this is, I guess, personalised health in the earlier days. We've been doing that for over 15 years in clinics in Australia, and it's now becoming a lot more of a popularised topic and concept. And along that journey, we've been, I guess, on a way to say, how can we get that from a clinic setting to a more accessible setting for anyone from the comfort of their own home, because that's how we're going to make a real difference in world health. And so we've been able to really step towards that over the last 10 years. We've made some really good progress, and as you mentioned before, we've now got a platform that's available for people to experience personalised health in the comfort of their own home, which we're really excited about. So that's been a bit of a journey along the way. I've certainly had my own health challenges, as a lot of us tend to do in these areas. I was diagnosed with a terminal illness actually from genetics quite a long time ago, and that's been a very inspiring factor for me that motivates me to do a lot of the work that we're doing to be able to make a big change for people who are in the same boat that don't have the answers. And we really find that everybody's so unique and everybody needs different things that are personalised specifically for them, and that's what we really pride ourselves on.
So there's genetics in terms of like, here, let me swab your saliva and see what your genes are telling us. There's epigenetics. We all know that if we eat broccoli, it's probably going to open up different genes and do things, da-da-da-da-da. I think there's a lot of confusion like out there just in general about what the hell all this stuff even means.
Right.
So let's unpack what genetics means, because it doesn't necessarily mean that the expression of those genes yesterday is the same as like tomorrow.
Right. Well, I guess the biggest thing to understand is that our genes don't determine our future. That's the biggest, I guess, the biggest revelation that's come out. Genetics have been a big thing in the forefront for quite a long time. And now with the new understanding about epigenetics, we understand that our genes, maybe 5 to 10% of what might occur to us in terms of some sort of chronic disease. We're now realising that's the way that your genes are switched on or off that actually determines who you are at this point in time. And so the key is really trying to navigate and say, well, what things do switch on your good genes and which things do switch off your bad genes? That's kind of the aim of the game. And so epigenetics is a really important field to understand, and we've been working hard for over 10 years to quantify epigenetics, to say which things outside, and for those that don't know, epigenetics means, epi means outside, so things outside of your genes that actually influence the way they're switched on or off. And so we're looking at saying that the 6 main categories, if you like. The first is food, so the foods you eat. A science called nutrigenomics, so looking at the way that influences your genes. We look at the exercise, so exercise genomics, how activity influences things, our environment and our climate and our lifestyle, how that actually influences, interacts with our body. The social interactions that we have, which includes stress and all those things, whether it's with your boss or whether it's with your partner at home or your mother, daughter, whatever it might be. Look at your natural talents, so your genius, what you actually do with your time, talking about flow state, things like that, and then your mind, the way that you perceive your environment and perceive everything that's around. And so these are the 6 main areas that influence us in any particular point in time, and they change very, very regularly. As you can imagine, there's a lot of different stresses that change, the different foods that go in our mouth, the different climates as the weather changes. So our body's constantly going through these different inputs and different stimulus that actually changes our gene expression in little as a couple of minutes. So we've got a lot of science now that shows us that gene expression changes very regularly, and we've been working hard to help quantify that so you can know what's right for you based in climates, activity levels, foods, etc., etc. So it's been a very exciting journey, and we're really excited to be able to put it into a format where people will now understand what could be a very complex science and medicine approach into something that's very tangible and very easy. We're just really trying to simplify health to say the main message is that you're unique. There's not one single person on the planet that's the same. There's 7.3 billion people. Not one person is the same. We all have different genes, and we all have different environments, and we all have different lifestyles. So go and find out what's right for you, because whatever foods you eat doesn't work for the person down the road. Whatever they did for exercise isn't going to work for you. So find out what's right for you and do that so you can be healthy and happy.
So if I were to go get a swab and, I have some sort of, 23andMe, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, here it is. Turns out that my liver doesn't detox well, or, whatever it is that we read from that. Mm-hmm. How much of that in reality is set in stone, and how much of that can I influence? It sounds like these factors, these environmental factors, actually hinge it pretty strong. Right.
We're showing up to about 90% of our environment and lifestyle. Our epigenetics can influence the way genes are expressed. Mm-hmm. And so this is, some great common debates about things like with Angelina Jolie, with breast cancer, having breast removes, or predisposition for that, I should say. BRCA1, BRCA2 genes shows a very high likelihood that she'll get breast cancer. However, if she understood or understands the things in our epigenetics that she can actually do to avoid those genes being expressed and actually ending up with something like breast cancer, then she doesn't need to get her breast removed. Mm-hmm. So it's understanding that we now have like almost a full control over what happens with our health, and the health is now really in our hands, and that's really the power of understanding personalised health and epigenetics, is saying actually we get to choose 90% or 95% almost of what happens with our health is due to epigenetics and health. And so we get to actually choose all these epigenetic factors ourselves. We get to choose what foods we put in our mouth. We get to choose how much we exercise or don't exercise. We get to choose who we hang out with and who we laugh with, or who we get stressed by. We get to choose where we live in the climates, if we've got air conditioning on or not. We get to choose how we think and how we see and perceive the world. We get to choose what we do with our time, our natural talents. So we get to choose almost everything that determines our health. And it's really empowering now to be able to say, wow, if I can actually choose those things, if I can know what's right for me and I can choose to do that, I'm actually in control of my own health now. And it's a really exciting time to be able to help share that with the world.
So there's genotype, there's phenotype.
Yeah.
Let's unpack that all.
Okay, so genotype is your genes, your blueprint, your DNA. And your phenotype is which ones of those are switched on or off. So if you think of just like your genes as like a light board, switch certain things on equals you. And you is your phenotype, so how you look and how you think in the mirror. So you colour of your hair, or whatever. We obviously got the same hairdresser, but colour of your hair, the wrinkles around, the texture of your skin, the size of your waist, the size of the length of your hand. All these things are your genes expressed. So how you look in the mirror is literally your phenotype, and how you think as well, because it's looking at your brain, looking at everything else that's going on inside of you. And so understanding your phenotype is literally understanding you. So what we've been able to do is quantify you, which means we quantify your phenotype, and we've been able to reverse engineer to say, well, now we know which genes you have switched on because of you. So there's a number of different genes for your brown eyes that you have, a number of different genes that you have for your finger length, a number of different genes you have for skin texture, for hair colour, etc., etc. And so by measuring and quantifying your phenotype, we can now reverse engineer to understand genetics, which we're now at a point in time we don't even need to take a genetic sample to get more accurate information about you than what we have previously. It's a really exciting time.
So we take my phenotype expression, like, all the stuff that happened that made me look like this guy, right? And then we take that, we reverse engineer it, we know what genes are kicking and active, and at that point with that information, if we see things that we don't like, if we see things that we can do without, then we start making decisions on the 6 lifestyle categories.
Right. Well, it's even understanding that once you understand your phenotype, it's like in the back end of the platform, it builds like an avatar of you. So there's a Pedram that's sort of built in the back end. And once we understand which genes you have expressed, we even understand your biochemistry that's happening in your body at any particular point in time, all the other biology factors, even your neurochemistry. We even understand which parts of your brain are most dominant and most functional at any point in time, the health and state of your organs. Like it's very, very advanced, the information that we can gather when we know your gene expression. And so based on that, we understand if you've got imbalances, chemical imbalances in your body, and you might need certain influences of foods that may have extra magnesium that you might be deficient in, or other things. So it's addressing the imbalances that you have in your body by using these epigenetic factors, and it cross-correlates with all these different things that we kind of weigh up at any particular point in time. So if you suddenly have 4 hours sleep a night because your kids aren't sleeping, then we might need to understand that there's more nutritional requirements that need to help out because you're deficient in certain things. And so it's this constant act, and this is where we've kind of missed the boat a little bit in science and medicine so far, is that we just think that we're all just one, like we treat everyone the same. It's just this generic health. We should all eat healthy fruits and vegetables. Well, now we clearly know by multiple studies that that's actually negligible advice. It's actually negligent that we're still advising that in 2016 that people eat healthy fruits and vegetables. We know quite well that kale is really great for some people and really bad for other people. We know that broccoli can be something that's fantastic for the brain and something that's very detrimental for it. It's not the food that's good or bad, it's how does the food interact with you? How does it interact with you? How does it interact with me? The latest studies that come out saying tomatoes cause cancer. It's like, great, well, should I, and we get these questions all the time, I'm sure you do too, like, should we eat tomatoes? They cause cancer. Like, that's like, well, depends. Like, depends on you as opposed to the tomato. So this tomato for me, for example, might be great. All the antioxidants and lycopene's fantastic to help prevent cancer for me. If you were someone who was, if your phenotype, for example, was someone who was very tall, female, blonde hair, blue eyes, fair skin, freckles, from English descent, then you're going to have a high, like in chromosome 4, you're going to have a high risk of a predisposition for oxalic acid, which means you're more prone to skin cancer. And so would we recommend you eat a lot of tomatoes if you were that phenotype? No, we wouldn't. And so for me, yes. For this lady, no. And so it's not, is tomato good or bad, or tomatoes a healthy food and here's all the great things in it. It's saying, actually, how does that food interact with this body and this body and this body and this body? And so it's understanding that personalisation is really, so find out who you are, what's right for you, where you are at internally and what you need, because tomatoes might not be great for you, but tomatoes might be great for you. So it's really just looking at things differently to how we've looked at things in the past, rather than saying these foods are really healthy, we should eat them, and these superfoods are great. It's actually saying, well, the superfoods might be superfoods for some people. They might be the complete opposite. Excuse me, that might be super bad foods for other people. And we work with people all day, every day in those situations where, especially over here in America at the moment, where kale's the big thing. It's what you do.
I think we've moved to coconut oil. Oh no, we moved to something else now.
Yeah.
It's just this.
It's the ongoing
tabloid
what's next.
fad of tell me what to eat. Just tell me what to eat.
And that's what we're really doing now, is just saying, we work with heaps of people who are having issues with kale, for example. Kale is not the answer, everybody. I'm sorry to tell you if you're a big kale fan, but it might be for you. And so we're a big supporter of everything. Do I do the paleo diet? Do I do the juice fast? Do I do the, which diet, which thing? There's high carb, low carb, no carb, there's so many different things that are so confusing. We say open arms, none of these are wrong. It just depends what's right for you. This might be, paleo might be great for you. Juice fast might be great for you. Actually, for you, it might kill you if you do a juice fast. People die from doing juice fasts. It's a fact. So it depends on what is right for you at what point in time, and that changes as you change. And that really is the key to personalised health and understanding the epigenetics, is that things change regularly. Your gene expressions change regularly. And so even at if you sat in this one position, didn't do anything for the next 6 months, the climate around you gets cooler or gets warmer. And so even your body requirements, just in the climate around you, changes. The foods you need to eat will be different. I often use the example, just to highlight this, if you jumped on a plane right now and went to Antarctica, or jumped off on a plane and went to Africa. Get off in Antarctica, I'm freezing cold, just get me in a cab, take me to the hotel, and I just want to have a warm bowl of soup. That's what my body needs right now. Jump off in Africa, it's like, hey everybody, we're here safari, let's go. I'll have a fresh juice or a glass of water, thanks very much. And so understanding that you're exactly the same person, same genes, same mind, same schedule, same kids, same family, same everything.
Different
you just
airport.
jumped on a plane, different airport. However, when you're in there, your body needs a warm bowl of soup. In Antarctica, it needs a fresh juice or water in Africa. So it's exactly the same, just understanding this is how epigenetics influences us. And not just for the foods, it's all the other factors as well. Socially, you're more introverted, get me in a cab, I don't want to talk to anyone, take me to a hotel in the cold weather. In the warmer weather, hey everybody, you just met 3 new friends in 3 minutes at the safari, this is fantastic, can't wait to go, you're more extroverted and outgoing. So understanding the influences socially, foods and every other factor is huge in epigenetics, and this is just you being you in the weather. That's how it changes. Take into account stress, take into account allergens, toxicity levels, how much exercise you're doing. If you're working out 3 times a day versus you haven't worked out for 2 months, all of these change the different foods you're getting, how much sleep you're having, what you're doing with your time. If you're behind a computer doing all this versus being out and socialising and networking and connecting with people, there's so many different things that actually influence who you are at any given point in time. And we're really trying to help people understand what's right for them without any confusion. We just literally take all the confusion and the tabloid stuff out and say, I'm me, I'm Matt, or I'm Pedram. What's right for me at this point in time? And I know that in 2 weeks it's going to be different. I know that if I jump on a plane and fly to, if I'm flying to London next week, then I know my food's going to be different. How could I possibly be thinking that this diet is good for me? when my climate changes, my stress changes, my sleep changes, everything else changes. So it's understanding what's right for me at any given point in time.
So my head measurement's probably not going to change. My
Right.
jaw measurement's not going to change. Certain things are kind of phenotypic expressions. It's like, okay, this happened. This guy happened.
Yeah.
Right? So then once we kind of have that snapshot, how much of this kind of computer algorithm, AI brain that you guys have developed, and I want to be clear, this isn't just a couple guys that are just kind of creating some software. He works with like university top-notch professors all over the world. So you've got a board that's pretty impressive, and so there's a lot of brains on this. So it's, this isn't just some like fly-by-night thing.
This is a lot. There's leading minds from medicine, science, researchers all over the world. Geneticists and molecular biologists through to everything on the other side of the healing spectrum. It's a very East and West approach that's combined, and we actually factor in a lot of the Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine concepts and principles into this to make sure it's a very holistic approach. It's a very interesting system, and it's definitely developed by the world's leading minds, people that are much smarter than me.
Yeah, well, listen, if you're not hanging out with people smarter than you, you're not trying hard enough in life.
Right.
Yeah. So then we do this assessment. We kind of figure out the basics of like our phenotypic expression, and then I decide, hey, listen, I got this thing, and tomorrow I'm going to be in 110 degree weather in Arizona,
right.
And we're in like beautiful temperate Southern California right now. So then how do I use the kind of the core understanding to like build in some agility for my change?
Well, in the platform, it's really easy. You just go and update your location, and then it'll automatically update a whole different list for you. It'll base it on the local fruits and vegetables that are available in that area, the local temperature, wind speed, everything. And so it'll automatically recalculate what your body is going to need in that climate, literally in real time.
You said wind speed?
Yeah, wind speed, allergens, the whole works.
They're built into the intelligence of this.
It's what we call geomedicine, and so we understand that our location influences our health in a very big way. Something that hasn't been a common topic actually. It's sort of flown under the radar for quite a long time, and it's starting to come back into conversations now. But we, from a medical point of view, treatments wise, even some of the, again, depending on the person, some treatments, we understand that changing diet and doing exercise actually won't be the answer for some people. It's actually saying, well, this person needs a significant, it might be 80% that will come up with us, with our understanding in the back end to say it's the environment that's causing a lot of this person's issues. And so we'll actually relocate some people or change environments and have 20-year histories of whatever, arthritis, heart disease, whatever, just completely disappear with location change without even doing any other intervention whatsoever. And so it's just important to understand there's so many factors that actually influence us as a human being. Everything is interconnected. We can't just say, hey, let's just do this diet and it'll fix everything. It's saying, well, what about how active I am, or what about how much stress I've got? I could eat the healthiest diet under the sun and be the most active, but I've got stress every day. From our relationship, that's not going to be healthy for me. Or maybe I'm eating a not so great diet, but I'm completely sweet and relaxed and no stress at all, and I'm healthier than what I would be otherwise. So it's understanding what's good for you, what parts and what things are most balanced. For some people, this is what we find, it's very, very different for everybody. For some people, the actual exercise is a huge part of their health. Some people it's the food. Some people it's a balance of everything. Some people it's the stress and the interactions. Some people it's what they're doing with their time. Other people it's the mind and how they perceive things in the world. And so it's this interesting balance that we're finding out about, and it's very fascinating.
So I want to actually run through some of this just because it's fun.
Yeah.
I was doing my assessment and I got stuck because I didn't have a measuring tape, and so I knew you were coming.
Cha-ching.
Yeah. So it asked me for my height and weight, and now all of a sudden this is where I got stuck. It's like head and neck, forehead measurement in inches.
Yeah.
And I got a big head. So let's just kind of run through this.
Let's find out how big it is.
Yeah, exactly. Let's run through this and then just kind of like explain as we go, like what all this means, if you will.
Yeah. So there's in the system, there's videos that you can watch to show how to do it yourself quite easily, and you actually just measure. It's a very simple measurement to do. As we come around, if you want to type these in as we go, it's 23 inches. And so what we're doing here is, this is a science.
Yep.
This is a science that's called anthropometry, and so this has been around for a very long time actually. And what we do, chest.
We're gonna buy me a suit later.
This is very suit 41. Okay,
so we're measuring all this. I've and then arms, elbow. We're actually taking the elbow.
So non-dominant hand.
Non-dominant hand.
Great.
And
this is creating an
all
avatar.
These are showing what?
Of your body in the back end. So that's 11.25. It's as simple as that. We're done.
All right.
So what this does, this is the science of anthropometry, and so this has been around for hundreds of years. It was popularised, back in the 1600s actually, where they were trying to figure out they didn't have MRIs and blood tests and DNA samples back then, and so they're trying to figure out all these people are carrying these diseases. How can we quantify? Is there a pattern? Is there what's going on? And so they started measuring people, and this is something that's been around for a long, long time. You see the Vitruvian Man, I guess, is the oldest, most common known thing. And so by measuring that, we understand an avatar. So at the moment, there's like a body shape that's in the back end, and we understand the different ratios that are going on in your body. We understand from science and medicine and peer-reviewed articles, there's literally thousands of studies now that show very clear links between your body shape and your physiology. So looking at the different parts of your brain physiology, body physiology, and very clear links between risk of disease as well. So we know if you've got a high predisposition for certain things like cancers and heart disease, diabetes, et cetera, from already what we've got. And this is just one layer that we put into the system. So one science anthropometry that goes in there to understand that. So
I've never had that measured for this. I'm going to run through a couple of these. We're not going to do the whole thing, obviously, but then I'll do it offline and share. What best represents your skin tone? Would I be light brown?
You'd be olive.
Olive? Yeah, that makes sense. And then, do you have any of these on your face? Flaky skin, moles, wrinkles, capillaries, red blotches, acne, pimples? Not really.
Nope. You're pretty good.
No, I get dark circles under my eyes. When I had hair, it was black. And then, do you have hair?
And so while you're doing this, there's a few questions. So for those listening at home, this is really pulling in so much medical information in the back end as we go. So in the back end, it's starting to understand certain expression of genes that are happening. It's starting to understand certain deficiencies in vitamins and minerals that you might have in your body. It's understanding certain biochemistry functions that are happening, especially neurochemistry, understanding more about hormones, different organ states of health if you have certain things going on. So there's this complex amount of information that goes. There's over 10,000 data points have been pulled in when you answer these questions in the back end. And as you can see, it's based on objective information. It's not just a questionnaire. It's saying, what's your skin color? What's your eye color? What's your
And so
hand
each
length?
of these is a different expression.
Right.
So am I nut brown or dark brown in my eyes?
You're going to be dark brown.
Yeah. Okay. So it's nice. I got the guy here, right? I get to have like a guide through this.
It's easy.
Do you have any? Have you ever had? Nope. So okay, so we're gonna run through this. We're not gonna obviously do my whole like medical thing here because it's gonna take a minute. What do you say? Like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to run through the whole thing?
It takes between 20 and 30 minutes to do the assessment, and once you've done the assessment, you literally know everything about your life. This is something that's it's phenomenal. It's in real time. It takes about 3 minutes to do the calculations in the back end because there's so much to go through, and then you're presented with these actually 6 areas that talks about your foods down specifically to tell you how. We used tomato before to tell you how often it would be good for you to eat tomatoes each week. It goes through personally, like every single food lists out specifically for you why tomatoes is on your list. It will go through in extreme amounts of detail as to why tomatoes is good for you or why tomatoes is not so good for you to eat. So it's very, very detailed. It's well ahead of its time, it would be fair to say. But very specific, but gives you all the answers that's there. You've got areas where you can just do recipes and things like that to be able to make it very convenient for your own management.
Amazing. This is all just chest presses
and you can click on, like if you click on one, it will give you like a description or do a certain exercise and whatever else that's there. So, we've tailored this to come into, like this is specifically based on gene expression, but it goes into so much detail in rather than a strength and conditioning aspect, it's more of a personalised health aspect. So it will say, for example, for you, if it identifies that you were tight through the front of your chest and were weak at the back, so you had more forward shoulders, for example, it's not just going to give you exercises like a seated row to increase the strength here. It'll say, well, if there's actually a limitation in your spine where you've got a predisposition for calcification, then it's going to give you a single arm because you want to increase rotation through there and mobilise the neural system as well as the vascular system. So it factors in like all your personalised health as opposed to just strength and conditioning. So that's what the exercise section is for. It's a lot more advanced than standard S&C stuff.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. So fascinating. I'm going to start playing with this. I think that this is the future of all things medicine. It's great.
Yeah, it's
and so, I'm going to goof off on it, and then I'm going to share a link with my audience, and I invite you guys to check this out because, look, at the end of the day, throwing a pill at a problem, throwing kale at a problem, throwing, an exercise routine at a problem is absolutely, it's like we're going to look back 5 years from now and say, like, how primitive were we? We're all so different, and we're giving the same recommendations to everybody. It doesn't make any sense at all. So
it makes no sense at all, and that's really, like, we have the knowledge, we have the science, we have the understanding, we have the technology now available in 2016 to be able to change what we're doing. And so, as I mentioned before, it's actually negligent advice we're giving now to recommend everybody eats healthy fruits and vegetables, and we're really trying to create a lot of awareness to say, hey, why don't you go and find out how unique you are? Why don't you find out what's right for you, for your body at any specific point in time, and do that. That's what you need. Go and do that to be healthy and to be happy. And that really is our message, is just go and find out who you are. It's personalised. It's about you. Go and do you.
Yeah, and know thyself, right? It's the kind of classic adage. So I love it, man. I'm going to check this out. I'm going to play with it. I'll get a link to share with our audience. And this is cutting edge. I mean, it's really beautiful what you've put together. I know this is a lot of work. And I know you're still working. You got all sorts of stuff that I'm not even going to mention right now, kind of under the hood that's coming. But this is promising.
Yeah, it's certainly the future of health and future of science and medicine, and we're really excited to be pioneering a lot of things in the application of epigenetics and personalised health and medicine. And really encourage anyone to take advantage of this that's here, and you can now know, get rid of the confusion, get rid of the, do I do this diet, do I do that diet, how do I lose weight, how do I sleep better? This is literally the answers for all those sorts of things. We're working a lot with looking at reversals of chronic disease states with this in studies right now, all over the world in different countries, and improving digestion and sleep and energy levels and everything, weight loss, all that sort of stuff is just part of being healthy. So if you know what your body needs and you just do that, then everything comes into balance, and that's really where it's at. So it's exciting times, and I really appreciate being able to share this with you and your audience, Pedram.
Great to have you.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. I'll see you next time, and I'll put a link for you to check this out. Let me know what you think, and let's play with this together.